welcome to the 7th episode of the Clicker series. In this episode, we will be adding a few different categories to our upgrades, and you'll see what I mean really shortly. First, I want to just add a little bit of padding. I just want to add a little bit of margin to our main div. So over here, say margin bottom, say 100 pixels. Okay, just to add a little bit more gap between the two. Okay, and now we can add the navigation buttons for the different categories. Okay, so I'll just go inside the right div over here. And inside here, I'll just create a new div and move this one inside its parent div. So just like that, okay? And now above that, we can create a new div and we can give it a class of right navbar. Okay, and inside here we can create two new divs. The first one will have an ID of upgrade nav button. So this will be the button that will show us all our current upgrades, and we will create another one. And for the bottom div over here, it will have an ID of skills nav button. So this button will open up all the skills, which we will create later. Okay, so I'll call this one upgrade and call this one skills. Okay, I'll just save that. Cool, it shows up over there. Okay, now moving on to the styles. So since we moved the ID to this child div, instead of targeting the right over here, we can say hashtag upgrade container because we're using the ID. And we can copy and paste all of this and paste it into here. I'll just say 500 pixels. And then also inside here, we can add some more styling. We can give it a border of 2 pixels and an RGB of gray, solid. We can say border radius is 4 pixels. And we also give it a little bit of a box shadow. So 2 pixels, 2 pixel, 4 pixels of blur, and an RGB of say 140, 140, and 140. Okay, and for this one we can also say position relative. Okay, this should be upgrades container. Okay, so we save that. Everything should look normal. And I'll add a bit of more padding to the x-axis so I can just remove this to make 20 pixels on all sides. Okay, nice. That looks a little bit better. Okay, so now let's target the right navigation bar. So inside here, we can just change this to right nav bar. And inside here, we can say display flex and a font weight of bold. Okay, so now we can target the divs inside the right nav bar by saying right navbar and greater than div. So this targets all the divs inside the right navbar. And we can say width is 140 pixels, height is 40 pixels. We give it a background color of red and text align of center and a padding top of 15 pixels. Okay, we save that. We can see our two buttons over here. But I just want to change the color of the second button to make it more distinguishable from the first. Okay, and to change the color of the leftmost div, we can do dot rise right navbar, and inside here we can say first child, and we can say background blue. So what this does, it targets the first child, which is the first div inside of the right navbar. So we save that and okay, so we save that and then we go back. Okay, we can see the first one is now blue. Nice. Okay, next thing I want to do is add in the functionalities. So I will just change this one to make upgrades so they both have an S at the end. So now going to our JS file, we can first grab both of the divs. So let's say upgrades nav button equals document.getElement by ID and this is upgrades. This is upgrades and nav button, and let's copy that one, and this one will be skills. Same with over here. Okay, so now that's done, let's create the functions. So we can scroll all the way down below the setInterval function, and we can say upgrades. Let's do skills first because we're already on the upgrades page. So let's do skills nav button, and let's add an event listener to it. Event listener, and inside here we can listen for the click event. So when the div is clicked, then the following function will trigger. So let's say function like this. Okay, and inside here we can target all of the smaller containers inside of our main one. So this will be, for example, all of these individual upgrades inside of the main upgrade container. So these ones will be called upgrade containers, or let's say const to declare it. Upgrade containers equals document dot query selector, not this one, but query selector all, like that. So we can select all of them, not just one. And this one will have a class of upgrade. Okay, and the reason we're using the upgrade, remember, is because if we head back to our HTML file, we can see for our upgrade template, so this one over here, the div that's wrapping everything has a class of upgrade. So if we do query selector all upgrade, it will target all of the inner divs. Okay, now we've got all the divs, we can loop through everything inside here and say upgrades container dot for each. Okay, like that. And we can pass in the individual container. Let's say upgrade container, sorry. And this will run another function. And inside here, we can say container.style.opacity equals to 0. Okay, upgrade containers. So like this. Okay, and we save this. And now if we click on the skill button, everything will disappear. Nice. Now we want to display all of our skills instead of our upgrades. But I just realized since we set the opacity to 0, we can still click on the things. It's just that we can't see them. So to actually, let's not use opacity. Let's use display. So we do dot display and set it to none. So now we save, we click on skills. The div does shrink to match the size of this child inside the div, but that's okay. We'll add them later on. Okay, so now if I dupe this one and create another one, and inside here I'll say upgrade, upgrades, yeah, upgrades nav button, and same with this one, but now let's make it display block. Okay, so we save that, and now we click on skills, it's gone, but we click on upgrade. Okay, it's not block, it might be flex. Display flex. So now if we try again, all right, everything works. Sweet. Okay, so while we're at it, let's add in some skills. Okay, so let's go to our constants folder and create a new JavaScript file. And we can call this one skills.js. Okay, so this will be very simple. We can just go to our upgrades file and copy how we created our upgrade divs. So we can just copy this entire thing here, and we can import default values. Okay, so instead of importing this, we can head over to the default values file and make another array. And this one will contain all of the skills. So we can say export const default skill values equals here, and we'll have objects like this. And this one will be called default upgrade values. Okay, so we save that and head to our upgrade file and change this to default upgrade values. And so is this one, default upgrade values. Okay, so let's just save that and make sure everything is still working. So nice, everything still shows up. Next, let's add in our default skill values. So for our first one, I want to give it a name of, say, stronger clicks. And the description will be double your clicking power for 30 seconds, and we'll have an image of .assets, skills, skill1.png. We'll have a cooldown of 600 seconds and a cost of 12,000 gems. Okay, let's create one more, and this one will be called, say, Lucky Day. Have a description of gain 600 multiplied GPS worth of gems instantly. This one will also have the same image. We will add different images in the future, but for now, let's just use this one. And I'll have a cooldown of 900 seconds and a cost of 480,000 gems. Okay, so now we save this and save our skills.js. Since we're not calling this file anywhere, we're not importing it in our index.js, we need to include it in our HTML file by including this script tag. So we can just copy this one down and say source is constants/skills.js. Okay, if we save that, and now we come over to our app, we can see our two new skills. Nice. We only want to show this when the skills is clicked, not in the upgrade category. So to do this, let's add in another attribute to our array, which would be the default values. Okay, so let's add another one called type, and this type will be called upgrade. And let's just copy all of these. Copy it from the comma. So let's do that. Type is upgrade. And for these ones, let's say the type is skill. Okay, just like that. And in our HTML file, under our script template, we can give it another class inside of the upgrade container. So over here, we can say the type and then dash, and we can make a dynamic value, and we can call it type. Let's try to do this. So if we say .type skill, and we can say opacity is 0. Let's actually say display is none, because we don't want to be able to hover over it. Okay, but in order for this to work, we need to place this beneath the upgrade class, because remember that both these two classes are attached to the same div. And since we're using the display property on both of them, whichever class comes later, that will override the previous one. So if we now save this and try, okay, we can no longer see the skills. Nice. Okay, so while we're at the styles, let's add in some more hover effects to the navigation bar. So if I come over here and say .rive navbar div and hover, I'll have an opacity of 0.85 and a cursor of pointer. So now if we hover over these, we can see the cursor changes and it goes a little dimmer. Nice. Okay, now let's head to our index.js. So inside our first event listener, instead of setting the container.start.display equals none, let's add an if statement check. So we can say if container.classlist.contains, and if it contains the dot type is equals to upgrade, I think it's removed this one, type upgrade, then we can set the display to none. And let's copy that down. Oh, not like that. Let's copy that. Okay, so let's copy that line down. And we can say else if container.classlist.contains type is skill, then we'll set the display to flex. All right, let's try. So we go to skills, then we can see our skills, but the upgrade are gone. Nice. So now let's do the same thing with the second event listener. So we can just take that line out and copy this entire thing over. And we can change the orders around. So this will be flex and this will be none. Save that. And now if we go to skills, we can see our skills. Back to upgrade, we can no longer see the skills. Nice. Okay, finally, let's add in one more navigation bar. So over here, we can copy this one down and say our new one will be called artifacts. And these artifacts will be awarded to players when they go through the prestige. And we will add in the prestige functionality in the next episode. So we can say artifacts. Okay, so we save that. Let's add in one more color. So let's say second child. Not second, so nth child 2 to target the second child. And let's make this color, let's see. Let's give it a purple color. Something like this. Okay, nice. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now we need to add in one for artifact. So if we head to our constants, let's now add one for our artifacts. You can say artifacts.js. Okay, so let's add in a default value. Export const default artifact values equals an empty array. And let's just make one for now. And let's just call the artifact 1 for now. And description will be, say, permanently increase all gems gained by X amount. Okay, and I'll have an image of this. We don't have the image for now, but we will add that one in the next episode. So we can just skip this for now. Make it an empty string, and we can say type is artifact. Okay, so now we save this and go to our artifacts.js. Let's import that. Default artifact values, and we can copy this one over like so. Take this out, and we can say default artifact values. We can save this and head to our index.html and copy this one down, and let's call this one artifacts.js. Okay, so now if we save this, and one more thing, we actually have to make the default display set to none. So type artifact, is it artifact or artifacts? Okay, artifact. Okay, so we can say display is none. Okay, if we save that and come over here, we shouldn't be able to see the artifact. But if we if we go to our index.js, and now we got to add one more thing. So we can say else if container.classlist.contains type artifact. Now say container.style.display equals to none. Okay, actually instead of doing it like this, because we'll be adding more buttons in the future, why not make it a lot simpler? So instead of saying this, we can copy the second one into the first line, and we can set this one to flex, and all the other buttons, we can just set that one to none. So else, we can just say container.style.display is set to none. So that will save us a lot of lines in the future. So same thing with this one. If it's type upgrade, we'll set it to flex, and if it's not, we will set it to none. So we can just delete this part over here. And let's add one more thing. We can say let artifact nav button equals document.getElement by ID, and say artifacts nav button. I'll just check if it is the name. Artifacts nav button, cool. We save that and copy the event listener down. And we can change this to artifacts nav button. Artifacts or artifacts nav button. And if it's a type of artifact, then we'll set it to flex, but if it's not, we set it to none. Okay, we try that one now. So skill, okay, nothing works now. What is wrong? Okay, so I think the problem is I've misspelled something here. Get element by ID. Okay, cool. So now we try to go on skills, that works, back to upgrade. And if we go to artifact, then I think it should be working, but the reason it's not working is because we actually haven't given the artifact values the CD and the cost. Because for the code generation to work, we do need the CD and the cost. But since the artifact works slightly different, it won't have those values. So we need to create a separate function for our artifacts, and that will be in the next episode. Okay, so now all the navigation buttons work. Sweet. Alright, awesome. So that will be all for this episode. Okay, so in the next episode, we will mainly be focusing on the prestige function, and we'll also be working on our skills and artifacts. Okay, see you in the next episode.